I was building my Hollywood career at the same time my mom was building her business, losing said business, and then going to federal prison for 12 years. So it felt like I was living a double life. But for me, my Hollywood journey started when I was a kid. I wrote songs all the time. I wrote poems all the time. I won a statewide contest that ended up being published in a book. So that's how I say that I've been a published author since I was in fifth grade. Made up dance routines, all of that. When I went to college for Southern University, I did the same thing. I was constantly writing songs, finding everybody who was into music. David Banner was in school with me for the whole 4 years. So it was a really close-knit music community at Southern University. Oh, sidebar. This is going to be kind of funny. I just thought about this. I pledged AKA when I was at Southern. And I don't know if it was I was already an AKA or I was planning to become an AKA, but it was an AKA winter formal. Guess what I took to the winter formal with me? I took to the AKA winter formal when I was in college. I took my then boyfriend, who I didn't know was potentially my brother, but what I did know is he was on the America's Most Wanted list and he was on the run for the cops. And I took him to my AKA winter formal. Since you guys have been asking for pictures, here it is, 1995, AKA winter formal. That's me and somebody who was on the run from the police. For real though, if this wasn't my life, I wouldn't believe it. So now I'm graduating college and it's time to move to New York to pursue my career as a songwriter. I did not set out to be a stylist. I didn't even want to be a stylist. I actually turned it down for 3 years, so we'll get to that. Now I'm in New York and I'm living in Teaneck, New Jersey. And it just so happened, so here's one thing that I've always known my whole life is when you manifest something and you believe it in your mind, your heart, and your soul, God will put you in the right place. So when I was growing up as a kid and I was dealing with my mom, beating her addiction and a lot of the traumas that I had to deal with as a kid, my mind let me escape to the life that I wanted. Even though I didn't see it physically, I could see it visually and I can see it mentally. So I always pictured myself in a different space because if you can see it, you can be it. And even though I didn't see it physically, I created the world in my head and then I saw it. So me living in Teaneck, New Jersey didn't feel like an accident because as it turns out, a lot of people from the music industry lived in Teaneck, New Jersey. And when you want something bad enough and you're praying for it and you're manifesting for it, God will put you in the right position. I got a job at Enterprise Rental Car, which was right across the street from my house in Teaneck, New Jersey. I mean, when I say right across the street, I could walk to work. It's significant. I'm at work one day, a woman comes in to return her rental car. And when you work at Enterprise, you then have to drive the person home. So as I'm in the car with this lady, she goes, "You are so beautiful. I need you to meet my son. I think you should meet him." Clearly, I'm like, what type of weirdo loser son does she have that he needs his mom to get dates for him? I was so confused. We pulled up to the house. Her son came out. It was Donnell Jones. And he took me to the studio with him all the time. That was my first real introduction to being in the studio. My former boss from Enterprise Rental Car just sent me this message. So I'm sitting here with my daughter and my boys telling them about you falling asleep at work because you were in the studio all night with Donnell. Fun times. I don't know why he didn't fire me. He should have fired me because if I wasn't falling asleep at work because I was in the studio all night, I would literally miss work because I couldn't wake up. I lived right across the street and my boss would call me and say, "Okay, you were supposed to be at work 30 minutes ago. I need you to get up and come on." This was interesting because he operated more like a big uncle figure to me, like a protector. And as a young 23-year-old living in Jersey on my own, I definitely needed that. When I first moved to New York, New Jersey, and I say New York because I was in the city mostly, but where I lived was right across the George Washington Bridge. I wanted to pay for everything myself. I was just like, no, I'm going to do it on my own. I didn't have to do the struggle bus, but I wanted to do it. One day my mom calls me while I'm in New York and she's like, "Hey, what did you eat for dinner?" And I was like, a can of corn? She was so annoyed with me. She's like, girl, why are you over there eating cans of corn when I can send you money so you don't have to do stuff like that? And then she said, do you think Paris Hilton turns down money from her parents? Blew my mind. I had to unlearn the thought of I need to get it out of the mud. I think that Black communities really push that narrative, mainly because a lot of us don't come from a position of financial security to help out our children or what have you. But still, there's that weird little I have to get it out of the mud. I don't know what that's about, but I honestly think that's a generational curse, because it's to the point where you can have money, you can have access to money, but you still mentally feel like you need to get it out of the mud. That doesn't build grit. You don't need that to build grit. Once I started taking the money, it was off to the races. Now I was mentally free to dream. I heard someone say on this app that dreaming is expensive, and they are 1000% correct. I had my life fully funded when I lived in New York throughout my 20s, and that allowed me the mental capacity to follow my dreams. I'm in New York, in and out of studios, writing songs with different producers, but nothing's really happening. And then I meet a music producer who had just gotten a label deal in LA, and he asked me to go to LA with him to work on songs for the artist he was going to sign. I assumed I'd come to LA and be here for like a month. I'm still here. That was, I moved here when I was 30, so that was 20 years ago. And as soon as I got settled in LA, the producer that I moved here to work with lost his label deal. But I'm here now, so I'm gonna make it work. Plus, I knew a lot of people in LA. Most of the people from New York also lived in LA at the same time. That's just kind of how the music industry worked. You live by coastal. Also, remember the girl who met me at the mall, who was, whose boyfriend was cellmates with my brother boyfriend at the time, and who gave me her car after just knowing me for 5 minutes so I can figure out what I wanted to do in New York? When I met her, she wasn't in the music industry, but she then became an exec in the music industry. So she was living in LA at the time as well. So she was already here. So it was very easy for her to just sort of like show me the ropes and like move me around and make sure I met all the right people. And through her, I ended up working with a producer, and we were writing songs for Fantasia Barrino. I think she had just won American Idol. And then she tells me that Fantasia needs a road manager and I should take the job. And I'm like, why would I be a road manager? I'm a songwriter. I'm not a road manager. I don't know anything about that. But when I found out how much the pay was to be a road manager, I was like, sign me up. And just like that, I was on tour with Fantasia as her road manager. And tour life? Yeah. Tour life is interesting.